bust list. So I'm saying about 88% accuracy so far once we remove these 3 players. But as you can see, some of these players weren't a total hit, as you can say, except for probably you could say Hawk. But they were still there based on the progression. Also based on the other players that were drafted in similar positions that did actually make Pro Bowls. All right, moving right along. I said, number 1 quarterback bust, Kyle Boller. So I want to break down why, Kyle Boller was number 1 quarterback bust. So, so Kyle Boller, he was number 19 pick in the year he was drafted. And let's go back just real quick, as we can see that Kyle Boller was a number 19 pick, 2003 draft. And there was a lot of good players drafted that year. So you had Marcus Trufant, Troy Polamalu, 11-16. Boller was 19. Then you had Willis McGahee, Dallas Clark, Larry Johnson, Nami Aswa, Charles Tillman, John Sinclair, Shea Mathis, on down to even some Hall of Famers and Jason Witten, potential Hall of Famer there with Lance Briggs. 18 Pro Bowlers between Jason Witten and Lance Briggs. Some really, really good players there that went after Kyle Boller. So that definitely didn't help him out. And there is on this list. Byron Leftwich was also drafted in this particular year. Another reason why he's hitting this list, the fact that the Baltimore Ravens were a solid team overall. They tend to draft really well. And that's one of the reasons why he's on the list there. So next thing we'll look at, let's look at just quarterback busts only. So what I went ahead and did is I just went through and looked at only quarterbacks that were on my bust list going from number 1 clear to 25. So you can see at 25, Paxton Lynch, number 26 pick. 2016, he's on there. Brandon Whedon, Joey Harrington. Most people think of him as a bust, ranked a little bit higher, but he's definitely there. Jimmy Clausen, Quincy Carter, a guy, 2001 Dallas Cowboys. Josh Freeman, I highlighted him, as well as Sam Bradford, Jason Campbell, Mark Sanchez in yellow, and there's others in yellow that I think that are actually the model has done them wrong and should be eliminated. Okay. So with that, we can look to say, okay, where the players are not high on the yellow, though I think that our busts, we got Kyle Boller, we got Matt Leinart, we got Christian Ponder, Rex Grossman, Jake Locker, David Carr, EJ Manuel, Blaine Gabbert. So most of these players are considered busts. Now I say most of these players, you'd say, if you went and did some research, you Google their name, went to some articles, the AP and the others, they'd say, what, these guys are showing up on quote unquote NFL draft bust lists. Tim Tebow, number 14, 2010 as a quarterback. Probably would say he was a bust. He was only on the team a couple of years. He did have one good year where he did have 1 Pro Bowl victory. Excuse me, one victory in the NFL wild card game. But he's on the list there at 14. Probably the fact that, there was also a lot of great players in 2010. And also 2010 was the best overall drafting year. So the fact that the Broncos spent a draft pick on Tim Tebow at number 25 in that year definitely put him here, because the fact there were so many other great players that the Broncos could have taken, and that also had that made Pro Bowls. Dez Bryant being one of them. But okay, enough with that. So taking a look at the quarterback busts and the misses, and the fact that it's 68% accurate, we can see that, Marcus Mariota, 2016 Pro Bowl alternate, youngest player to throw 4 touchdowns a game. He's still playing in the league, by the way. Josh Freeman, he was ranked 86 by his fellow players on the NFL top 100 player list of 2011. So he was probably, he was definitely a good pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers year. Mark Sanchez, 4-2 record as a playoff starter at the time, so he had a couple good years. for the Jets and others. Joe Flacco, this is probably the most glaring one. Most wins by a quarterback in the first 7 seasons, and also the Super Bowl MVP for the Super Bowl there. So, and that's going to be Super Bowl 48 or 47. So definitely Flacco. Some people might have thought that he actually was a Pro Bowler. It's kind of interesting. He never made the Pro Bowl as a non-alternate. So for quarterbacks, either you can pick you can get named. They name 3 quarterbacks, and then they have alternates. So if you're an alternate, it does not go as a yes. So that's probably one of the biggest glaring misses the guy was Joe Flacco. Blake Bortles, 17,646 passing yards over 5 years with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2 playoff victories. He's still in the league, by the way. So there's still a chance for him to potentially get a Pro Bowl and not be my model. But anyway, we'll keep rolling on. So now people always tell me, you know what about these other known busts? When I say known busts, you're always hearing about people who are saying things like, all these NFL draft experts are saying, oh, this guy was a bust. His skills didn't ever match up with all the hype. And one thing I wanted to make sure, one of the reasons I actually did this was to see if I could find a way to statistically and objectively name who was a bust and who wasn't based upon logistic regression or data science. So that's one of the reasons I'm actually doing this, is to say, well, is there a way to objectively look and say, well, who is a bust and who's not, and get beyond some of the emotion and everything else? And that's the reason why I designed this. And so, you always hear about, David Carr, #1 overall pick by the Houston Texans. Hey, this guy was a bust of a player. My mom ranked him at 97. So there's 96 other players who are actually more disappointing. A lot of that's to do with the fact that, Houston Texans, based upon their coefficient, maybe didn't either draft well or they didn't develop their draft picks well. Demarcus Russell, #1 overall pick by the Oakland Raiders in 2007. He's always on your top 10 lists or top 5 lists. Most people say he's the biggest bust ever. I've got him ranked at number 242, so he's not even close. Again, the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders have been atrocious with their picks and or their player development as far as making them into Pro Bowlers. So in some cases, it's been more of a situation where the organization as a whole has struggled, and his name gets put up there. Then it has been a situation where he was truly that bad of a player. Aaron Curry, he's again another player. He went to the Seattle Seahawks 2009. He's generally seen as one of the biggest busts ever. I've got him ranked number 20. So in this case, it's marrying up okay. Is definitely the top 25. Wasn't the number 4. That he's. I'm sorry, one of the top 2 or 3 picks that most people have mentioned. And then Trent Richardson, I actually saw an article saying, hey, he was one of the worst picks ever. He was number 3 overall pick, 2011 draft by Indianapolis Colts. He wasn't ranked, and if you wonder why he wasn't ranked, that draft of running backs probably wasn't as strong, and some other factors to see why he wasn't there. So again, maybe he was a player where things. There was just the strength of that draft and in relation to other players that hey, maybe it just wasn't it wasn't as bad of a pick as he might have seen. Okay, so commercially, what are some of the best draft picks ever that we've seen according to the model? So Trent Brown, 2015. He was a draft pick 2015. The Patriots, he actually made a Pro Bowl for the 49ers. So he was a 244th pick, very close to the bottom. Greg Heisel out of BYU, number 242. Again, very third day pick there. Max Crosby, number 242. I'm sorry, he was not that bad. He was like 180 something. I'll update that. Scott Wells. He was a 2004 pick, 251. And then David Tyree. Everyone remembers David Tyree. He was a 211 player taken in 2003 at Syracuse. Believe it or not, he actually was a Pro Bowler in 2005 as a special teams player. So the model picked him up as being one of the best picks in the draft. The reality, well, you can say whether or not that's fair. I'm sticking with the model and the stipulations I made. The fact that say if you draft a player, they make the Pro Bowl, that was a good pick, and that's why he's ranked as one of the top the best draft picks. So that's the fact that, well, they picked a guy 211th, he made the Pro Bowl, all the way made special teams. And however, most people know him for that great helmet catch we were showing here. So again, as I continue to develop this model, one of the things I like to mention is the fact that there's going to be these little kinks to work out. How do you deal with a guy like David Tyree, where he was drafted, he makes a Pro Bowl, but he makes the Pro Bowl as a special teams player or something like that? Do you exclude him or do you not? So as you can see, our next slide, what I've done, I went ahead and I kept him in there. I did go ahead and highlight him in orange, saying the fact that, he did, he was drafted. He was drafted. He did make a Pro Bowl, although it wasn't his position.